Hey everybody, it's your girl J9E. We're going to talk today about should DNA tests be mandatory at birth. I won't just blurt out what I think. I have many opinions about this, but we're going to get through this video. It's from African Millennials channel, and they have these, round table talks on there about all sorts of things. But this one I came across, somebody else was reacting to it. And I was like, man, I'm just steady taking notes. And we're going to just get into it. And I will give my opinions. And there are some really great ones as we go. So let's get into it.
I think that testing needs to be mandatory. It's like,
wow.
It should be mandatory. Because
but if you're not slinging your dick around, then you won't be scared about who's pregnant by
It's not about us.
You may have a partner right before me.
Exactly.
I think that the United States making DNA testing mandatory is stupid. I don't think that, it's something that if you feel like you need a DNA test, go do that on your own time because you feel that way. I don't think every person, there's millions of people in the United States. Like, it doesn't make sense that people could be using that time to do other things. Like, you could be saving a life. You could be in a hospital saving a life.
So it's like, if a woman is claiming you to be the...
I don't know where she was going with that. You could be at the hospital saving a life because we're all doctors, I guess. Maybe she's a doctor. And she just assumes that everyone else is as well. So I don't know where she was going with that. That gave no insight at all. But we'll proceed.
The father of the child. You may, let's say you're not with that woman, which that happens a lot, in today's society. There's some doubt that this is probably not my child. But instead of, confronting it on both ends where I feel like it should just be a mandatory. Don't tell somebody the father of the child, but you know that there's a doubt, like if you had slept with someone in between.
I mean, you can avoid the doubt by going by God and getting married and...
But we're talking about real life.
Do that, though.
What do you mean real life? Marriage is real life.
All right, all right, Seventina. Now we're talking about human nature. In real life, what actually happens,
A lot of people
in a practical universe, what actually happens, mistakes happen.
I think men have the right to know for sure,
God
but
bless you.
it's definitely
Thank you, Jerome.
no problem, guys. No problem, guys. It's insulting, though. I mean, I think men definitely deserve to know it. It's their right. Just like if a woman's like out there like that, she deserves to know who the father is as well. But I think it's definitely insulting if you're in a relationship and you're married and your partner wants you to have a DNA test.
No, it's more
that
insulting.
ain't straight.
No,
that kid not yours. That's
the kid's
way
not
more
yours, so you
insulting.
raise it. It's like, you raise it, and that's your child at the end of the day. But if
we
you had
together.
known that and you had that,
You can still cheat.
you didn't give that person that decision.
I feel like if you're in a marriage, you're happy, you're having babies, and it takes a lot to get to that place where, you're having babies with someone if you're responsible. For the question to be asked, can you take a DNA test? I mean, are you kidding me? Like, what is this? Like, what did we go down the aisle for? What did we say those vows for? If you're not gonna...
People get married all the time, and men step out of the marriage. So the contract doesn't actually keep either party from messing around. Let's just be transparent about that. So if that is the case, if it's possible, which it damn sure is, because there's lots of divorces happening behind it. If it's possible for that to happen, then the argument is mute. Like, being married is not some kind of barrier. Like it's a chastity belt for when you leave the house when you're married. Like that's what the ring is, I guess. I don't know. The logic behind the whole "if we're married it don't count" doesn't make any sense. But there's a larger issue that I'm not hearing anybody mention.
automatically know that this baby is yours.
So this is what I'm gonna say. I think
Automatically
that y'all
automatically think that this baby is yours because we're married. That's what you would automatically, I would hope you would automatically think, not know. You don't know shit. That's how you think.
This to me mandated because of a conversation you are not strong enough to have with your girl. 1. 2.
Well, if he's not strong enough to have it with his girls because of what you know that any normal woman is going to think and say, could possibly say or do after you ask him that question, which takes us to why not make it mandatory? If it's mandatory, everyone's feelings are preserved. Dad, mom, no insult there. Everyone had to do it. It was mandatory. It wasn't because he thought I was a thought. It's because it was mandatory. So that takes that out, right? That eliminates that. And then for this child whom no one mentions, whom apparently I guess isn't one day going to want to know whom the hell his biological father was. Are we assuming he's that they're never gonna want to know that? And finding out when they're 18 is extremely inconvenient. How do you bond with a stranger at 18? How do you do that? How do you as with them being your dad? If they find out when they're a baby, it's easy, it's faster, it's easier to find the father. If it isn't, it's more chances for the child and the actual father to create a bond, if that's going to happen. For them to have the option, at least. Seems like with them not taking it turning out to be not his kid. The only person who's protected in that scenario is mommy. That's it. That's the only person who is protected in that situation. Mommy and her feelings. But baby is going to be very pissed later. Mommy. Baby is going to grow up. And baby is going to have a hard time looking you in the eye. Mommy. These are things that need to be addressed. Like trying to preserve a woman's feelings is a full-time fucking job. It's a full-time job. It's a full-time job. We are easily offended. You can't make the world can't stop moving until a woman isn't sensitive. It would never move. It would. I don't know what a planet does when it don't rotate or move. I don't know what it happens, but I'm pretty sure it's bad. I went into a little more than I was supposed to with that part.
You requesting DNA, first of all, this is a very gendered question, right? There's no way for a woman, well, let me not speak for every woman. Mm-hmm. For me specifically, there's no way if my man came up to me, I wouldn't feel some type of offense. But fine, if you have the right to know whether it's your child or not, because I know this is my child, right? But to say that it's mandated is where I have a problem. Who is picking up those costs? The U.S. government? The U.S. government should be paying for these mandatory tests for you to know. No, first of all, we have so many issues in this country already. To then play.
This woman must be paying everybody's taxes. She is extremely concerned about these taxes. Like, it's medical related. So it's going to be in your medical costs. It's lab related. It's going to be in your lab costs. They would do it at the hospital. It's the easiest thing to hide up underneath of is that taxpayers' money. We're paying taxpayers' money for all these inmates in these prisons, some of which are in there because of these types of secrets coming out. They're all traumatized. There's men being out here traumatized for raising somebody's kid. Turns out it wasn't theirs. They lose their minds. Not to mention, just to point this out to women, the worst way this is my opinion, but I feel it to be fact. The worst thing that can happen to a man is that he have a child, bond with that child, raise that child, put his own self into that child because he thinks that is his legacy. He thinks this is the me that's still gonna be me. I'm still gonna be here when I die because my seed is here. Heaven forbid he only ever wanted one kid, had his one and was happy. Used all his active years on this child. To then find out when that kid is 18 years old, needs some kind of blood transfusion and there's some kind of weirdness with the blood match. This is how these are the ways that people find out these things later on when some medical issue comes up. And something just ain't making sense. We're paying taxpayer money for these prisons to put these boys in. These girls in. These young people in. These are the types of things that traumatize people and send them down weird paths that they did not have to go down. That you trying to protect your ego, your feelings. You want to protect your feelings more than you want to make sure that your child has access to, if it wants it, its own freaking parents. Its actual parents. Not the ones you tricked into being the parent. Not the one you told was the fucking parent. DNA is not the only thing that matters, but it is one of the things that matters, and in some cases can be absolutely crucial. Life or death when it comes to certain things. It's not about your feelings, and it damn sure ain't about the taxes. Like I said, we paying taxes for these prisons. What are you doing to help to empty out these prisons, lady with the pink shirt? What are you doing? Complaining about paying your taxes. These kids, oh my God. Let's get into it.
That type of payment on the U.S. government
Just
is
add it
wrong.
into a plan.
No,
Just on your healthcare plan.
no. And first
Check
of
the
all,
box that you
first
do.
of all, healthcare does not cover so many ailments that are like people are dying from.
I get
Not
that.
even just ailments, just feminine products.
Just feminine products. So for you to make that mandatory, that would have to be a government issue.
Do you know that?
If you want a mandatory test,
Which I do.
you pay for it
Which I
yourself.
better get.
You pay for
I
it
got the money
yourself.
for it.
So
I will
that's
pay for
fine.
it.
That's fine. So
I'll
let's make
pay
it
for
clear.
it.
So let's make it clear.
Because
If
you
you
know that
want
a lot of
let me
women-
finish my sentence.
All right, go ahead.
Let me finish my sentence. I personally pay taxes. And I care about where my money goes. I'm not here to pay for so-and-so because there's a confusion about who's the father. That's not my
God, I'm so
business.
proud of you for paying
Handle
taxes,
your
baby.
personal shit. And for me, I want to fund schools. I want to fund the MTA because the trains are never on time. We got bigger problems. We have...
She wants to fund the schools. Who goes to the schools? The traumatized ass fucking kids. That's who goes to the schools. The kids. You want to fund the schools, but don't give a shit about the kids that go in it. Ultimately, this ends up being about the kids. So, while you so busy making sure the school got a nice door, how about give a shit about the people, the little people that's walking around inside the motherfucker? How about that? Oh my God. Oh my God.
Problems. I'm sorry. I'm not paying for no mandatory test. When you're saying mandatory requires everyone to do it. Not everybody can pay for it.
No,
That's you're adding stuff. You're adding stuff. Hey man, let me finish my shit.
Ooh.
When you say mandatory, that includes people that are having children that don't necessarily have the money to pay for this test. A mandated thing is going to be covered by the government.
So that means
If you can't afford it. But you're not. So here's my thing. So the U.S. government is going to take care of it. We have too many other issues that are way more pressing than you knowing the fidelity of your relationship and whether that be your child. If you personally want to check for your child, that's you. But to say that it's mandatory across the
Yeah, it's not that cut and dry, because not all men and not all men and not all women are the same. This guy might be wondering if that kid is his because of, their own personal history, him in this tumultuous relationship. And so he thinks to get one. But what about this guy who has no idea? He doesn't suspect that anything is going awry in this here relationship. So he's not thinking to take one of those. He thinks nothing of it. But it's still the same fucking thing 18 years fucking later. When some shit comes up and now there's an issue. Baby needs blood. Has no idea who his actual natural relatives are to all these people who could possibly help him. Donate something to him that he needs something, like an organ or some shit. Like, these are things that actually fucking matter. They actually fucking matter. Not like your feelings. You're supposed to sort your feelings out on your own. That's not my problem, pink shirt. That's not my problem. It's like you said, y'all want to do that. That's not my problem. It ain't. But it's going to be when you have a baby. And of course, the daddy after this is definitely going to want a DNA test, because you sound awfully funny about this here DNA test. Like it's worst case scenario for you somehow. You have to take this test. I'm just saying. Ugh.
country, that's crazy. And it's inconsiderate. And it's no.
So Abraham, you saying that you will pay for it, right?
Yeah, I'll pay for it.
So if it costs $5,000, you're gonna pay for a DNA test that costs $5,000?
Does it cost $5,000?
For every child, it doesn't matter.
Now, what was the point of that hypothetical? So what if you had to get on a spaceship to go and take the DNA test? Would you go? How is the answer to that question going to help hear this conversation at all? So if it costs $5,000, would you do it? If I say yes, then what? Where are we going with this particular line of questioning?
I have a question though. Would you be okay with your wife having you do a lie detector test, whether you cheat on her or not?
Why not?
What if you were doing something wrong though?
I wouldn't be.
Exactly. So why would the DNA be like mandatory?
God bless you, man. Why are we even at this topic?
But this is what I'm saying. This question.
No, because you know what's crazy?
I don't think this
in a
question
hospital, women. In a hospital, women do ask for a DNA test. People do ask on the line. They'll pull a nurse aside and be like, "Can you know after the check?"
And that's fine. The question is about it being mandated. So understand what that means.
You know why the question on this question? I think for sure that the person that was writing this was talking about they're talking about like when you're requesting it, like it should be mandatory. Where like let's say a dad is like acting like this isn't his child. You should be able to say, "Oh, had this DNA test,"
but
and they can't deny it.
If a dad is acting like that's not their child, and a woman wants a child, no, he cannot. If a court says you gotta take a mandatory test, you have to take it.
But if you are mandating it across the country, understand the effects of what that's gonna be.
Versus a quarter
are completely different things. So when y'all wildin' talking about when you're wildin' saying that it should be mandated for the whole country, when there are so many other issues that we have to attend to because of your personal issues with your girl.
Both of us. It ain't. It's me and you. What you mean?
Over here doing stuff. I don't know if this is.
So you speak to her. That's a personal problem.
I gotta take your word
That's
for it.
you know what I'm saying? That's a personal problem, not a country one.
Is that a personal problem?
It is a personal problem. You don't know if that's your child. That's personal. The country don't got to deal with that shit.
I'm on the yellow side.
That's a personal problem.
Either way, though. That's what I'm saying.
Nobody knows.
That's still a personal.
I don't trust her.
I
I
don't
don't trust
understand
the
what you're
baby.
saying. You hear what I'm saying, right? The argument is that it's personal.
I think it should only be mandated if it's not, if you're not in marriage.
Yeah,
if you're in marriage,
Absolutely not.
think that's
We are
worse. Women in this situation about the topic in which we're talking about, pregnancies and DNA tests, in most cases than not, is going to be you have doubts about who the women cheating, and that's why the baby may not be yours. The direct topic question was from a man asking he doesn't want to raise another man's child. So in that case, who would have cheated? The woman. So yeah, in those situations, it's gonna always be about a woman. You're trying to get a DNA test. If it's a man outside the relationship, he gonna bring the evidence of the cheating. He gonna bring the child. And that's like the part where that's where it hurts the most. Like that's the time where it should be mandatory. If I'm in a if
In
you're
a marriage?
and that's but that's when it happens.
Yeah, the problem with that though, if you're like, I don't know, I think it's different in different places, but when you're married, it don't even matter if it's your kid or not. Financially, you gonna be paying for it. Even if y'all split up, child support, you'll be paying for that. That's still gonna be counted as yours if you're married. I don't know if that's in every state, but I know it's a thing. So might want to check the jurisdiction on that one, fellas.
That's why you would want it. You cheating, so you try to abuse her.
First of all, it's not when it's in that situation. More times than not, when it's like a relationship, it's usually the woman who's committed infidelity because the guy is assuming. If you're in a relationship, if you're married and you're in a relationship, the man is assuming. And most times when you're on Murray, you're watching these cases, or you hear about these stories. You're assuming that.
I almost died because Shabai said women are usually the one that's unfaithful. He sounds like he's guilty of something because a lot of time in a lot of culture, the man is normally the one that's out there cheating. And even guys that are religious, even people that are, I know people personally that are, that go to church every Sunday, but they still cheating on their wives. So I don't know what he's talking about.
The person that you're with is automatically that's your child. And that's why a man asked this question. It was directly gender.
What's so funny is that she don't even realize that she's making his point, because just like she said, the husbands still go out and they cheat. How can it not be assumed that the women did, that the wife did? In fact, in that situation, it should almost be assumed that it's likely that she may now, because the women can be vengeful. They can be very, very vengeful. Ugh. Oh no. It's like, make it make sense. Make it make sense.
Related, a man is asking that question. If you're outside, that's another big thing because everyone's right to do. They were single, whatever. But when you're with somebody, the person they're having questions about if they're the father of that child, they go through the rest of this child's life taking care of it. And if that was me, like, yeah, after 18 years, they're not gonna turn your back on the child. But if I had known from day one, I'm out.
Hold up, pause. First of all, women take care of children that aren't theirs all the fucking time and don't make a big ass deal about it.
That is hilarious. Women take care of men, of kids that aren't theirs all the time, and they don't make a big deal about it. But they do choose it. They decide to. And they're not told by the man that she birthed it. They're not saying, here's the baby that you gave birth to and is yours biologically. That's not how the kid got there. You knew about the kid, found out about the kid, then decided to either stay there or get into that situation. That's it. The guys are asking for the same thing. We just want to know. Let us know so we can decide individually. Some of us may stay, some of us may go, but give us the same choice. It's very, very simple. I don't know if they could work something like this out governmentally or whatever, or insurance-wise or whatever, but I think I would be interested to know how the women would feel if you took that part off the table. Like if you took the government part out of the equation of them having to pay taxes, if that part was solved and they said in the situation that it did not have to come from taxes, it was worked out in such a way to where it would be covered in this and it would be discounted, it would only cost this, and you would never even see it come out. So money is not an object in this. If money was not an object, taxes are not an object in this. Now, ladies, how do you feel? You could take any situation and turn it into a money situation. You could take anything and turn it into a money situation. Like any scenario you could think of about, well, what if this? You'd be like, well, ain't nobody got enough money to be doing all of that and moving around like that. You can always go there, but it doesn't actually answer the question. The question is about the DNA test being mandatory. Not, I wonder how the government will work this out. That wasn't the thing, but it's an excellent little thing that she's just taken, and she's just going to drive that thing through this whole thing. It's narrative. It's just narrative. Like, ugh, my God.
Pause. This is no.
What you saying? You're saying
I
that.
am saying that.
But you have a choice. You know
Pardon.
that. You know that's not your kid.
Pause. What I'm making a declaration between is the fact that this is a personal problem that you have with your girl, and you're making a country responsibility when we have other things to tend to first.
If it's not mine, I'm walking away. That's it. That's it. Nothing else to talk about. If you're just talking about what I'm gonna do, I don't know what they gonna do, but I know I'm out.
I don't think there's any issue with a man taking care of another man's child. Women do it all the time, whether you know or not. He might bring another child and say, "Oh, I had this out of our wedlock. You know, what are we gonna do?" Or he's taking your money and paying child support to another family. You had no idea. So when we're just like jumping, like, oh, I'm not gonna do this, I'm not gonna do that. Hold on, it's already being done.
You could have been doing so many other things with your life. You could have been figuring your life out. I don't know, feeding pigeons. I don't know, doing anything. But you raising a kid that is not yours. I mean, if you had the option to know that was your kid and you wanted to raise that kid, that's perfectly fine. A lot of people do that. But when you don't know, you're doing it out of the obligation or the mindset that this is my child. I'm gonna raise him or her. I'm gonna raise them up. I love them. This is my DNA. This is my blood. And then come to find out that's not your kid.
There's a clear like disrespect going on, right? If I have and double standard. Yes, I understand. It's fucked up if somebody has a child for you and it's not for you and expecting you to raise it. I get that. But what I'm saying is that women, first of all, have to do that all the time. But women are in these circumstances. Can I finish my sentence?
Go ahead.
Women are in the circumstance where they need to take care of a child that isn't theirs all the time, and I understand that again. That it ends up being a choice, right? Because you're aware. Can I? So that's what I said, Shabazz. So what's up?
But you're not making it.
I am making a point. If you let me finish, I would finish it. I am so.
All right. We're going to stop with that one. And I'm just going to tell you the rest of my thoughts about this. It is an old saying. Mama's baby, daddy's maybe. This has been going on forever. There's a ton of kids out here who have no idea. They're not kids anymore. They're adults, grown-ass men. Some in this prison that she's just fine paying taxes for. And I just want it to be it would have been nice if they could have had an honest, actual conversation about the thing and not taking it and just, diverted it intentionally. That was intentional. And this is the kind of thing, actually, this is a trait in some women, and I know it's not just black women, but it gets put into a thing of like it's black women and the anger thing. The thing that is lacking here is the capability to apologize, to catch yourself in the moment and be able to pull yourself back and apologize, to be able to not just have to just, even once you figured out, oh, this is the wrong track, I'm on the wrong track, to just, instead of stopping and figuring out, checking the map to see where you can divert the train so it can make it to its actual destination where it's going, you just be like, fuck it. I'm not gonna, because if I turn the thing, if I stop, then that means I'm admitting that I don't know how to do my job properly. So you just keep going and you're taking these people somewhere where they have no business being at. Like, admit when you are wrong. You have gone off the path. You've taken this one thing and you're literally consuming this whole narrative, this whole conversation from everyone else. No one can even really say nothing with this chick. No one has an opportunity to talk. There's no actual opinions of anyone anywhere outside of just trying to defend themselves, just, trying to get past her. And all she's talking about is fucking taxes. Like, the question isn't about how much would we have to pay taxes if this was mandatory. It's how you feel about it just being mandatory. That's the question. Oh my gosh, these people, they drive me bananas. Bananas. I had a couple other points. Let's see if I did it. I did something a little different. I did a closing argument. This one's going to have a closing argument. And the argument could be, it shouldn't be mandatory if you will have to be paid for through tax money or through tax money by everyone else. Like, so if everyone else by tax money has to pay it, then, perhaps not. But maybe still, actually, should be. I don't think it should be thrown completely out the window. But they would have to go over a lot of stuff as far as how it would, would it impact enough to make a difference for everyone, not just, a couple of people, a couple of incidents. Even though the Maury Povich show is proof enough that there are plenty of people out here scamming in this way. And then the kids grow up, and then sometimes the kids come back as grown-ups onto the Maury show, testing people, trying to see who their daddy is after they were a little kid on the same show 20 years ago, with mommy running in the back, falling on the floor, rolling around, talking about, it's not true, it's not true. I was a virgin, I don't know where this baby came from. All right, girl, all right. Okay, so if a guy just wants a test, he should get one. He absolutely, I think that it should just be, if they could find a way around it, I absolutely do think that it would be mandatory. Only for the sake of, it's for the best interest of the dad, the mom, and the child. Even though the mom won't think so if she's running around like a chicken with her head cut off. But, I mean, I can't see a reasonable person, you might feel a little bit some type of way about like initially if you were to hear the question, you want a DNA test, you might think that this is because it sounds almost like the person who's saying it is trying to find a way out. And so then you become defensive. But I think that literally is just what that is. But beyond that, if you can have a conversation about it and say, I don't know, I've just seen so many things. I just want to be able to just it's like the science of it for me. I just want to be able to just see a paper that shows me that this is mine. And be able to just have that and have no one in my family later be able to come up and mention this thing to me. And it, even if I don't believe them, it'd be a little spark inside of me that makes me go, why did they say that? I wonder. Like to feel like it's completely 100% a free space for them to bond 100% with this little person. Like, they should be able to have that. And if that thing is mandatory, they can have that without offending mommy. She don't have to get offended. That helps her. He don't have to offend and cause discord in his house by just having the audacity to ask. And the baby gets to know, because that this is their dad, or if it's not their dad, they get to be able to, it's a whole lot easier to find the biological dad in that time frame than it is 20 years later trying to look back and check years from back then. Not to mention, what if daddy's dead? Like, what if the biological father is dead by then? Like, how fair is that? It ain't. That's the answer to that. So, my pushback, I probably already said it. What about the guys who had no idea? Who had no idea at all? They weren't curious at all. They had no suspicion at all that their wife or whatever girlfriend was, hot as treasure, They didn't know. They felt super secure. And only wanted one kid their whole life. And like I said, they used all of the little young years, the youthful, spry years, playing little league, coaching the son, and doing all of this stuff because they think they're putting all of their energy into this person whom they think is their legacy, their little blood thing that's gonna be here when they leave, and then they find out now that they're like 45, 50 years old, that they don't have a kid, that they don't even have a blood kid. They don't have, their bloodline stops with them. All for the sake of sparing a woman who cheated clearly's feelings. Let's talk about that. To spare the feelings of the person who's responsible for all of it. Worst case, even worse, the child's actual biological father is now passed away, and now this is what was created, all because women are sensitive. This balance, make it make sense. Make it make sense. If it could be done logically, not even logically, financially, if it can be done financially, I believe that it should be mandatory. I think it's helpful for everyone. Even long term down the line, life or death situations. Yeah, I do. That's my opinion. Like and subscribe if you like. And if you want to subscribe. And I will catch you on the next one. Peace.